those slaves were brought here were Muslim, let us say, of course they weren't allowed to practice their faith in the way that we are allowed to practice it right now. I mean, you don't have a mosque, right? But there were certain aspects of the culture of Islam which have been transmitted generation after generation, and people don't even understand themselves where it's coming from. But it is actually because their ancestors were Muslim. Sometimes people ask me, how come there's more African American Muslim converts than there are Caucasian American Muslim converts? And I don't know if we can say, it's a myth or stereotype, but I think part of it has to do perhaps with this identification with a lost heritage for a lot of African Americans. I'm not going to speak, well, I kind of am an African American, right? I mean, I was born in Arlington, Virginia. My parents are from Egypt, so I'm African American, but okay, some of you guys. So anyhow, it's a very interesting history. Of course, maybe some of you here can remember when the Nation of Islam was very much in the news, in the civil rights movement, and Malcolm X coming out of that. There's a lot of interesting, I would definitely recommend that you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, especially as told to Alex Haley, especially if you're interested in the civil rights movement and history, but also certain realities. But of course, you have a large number of Muslim immigrants to this country. The first major wave of immigrants, if you will, was actually towards the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. A lot of Lebanese and Syrian immigrants, not just to the United States, but also to South America, Argentina, right? Carlos Menem, he was actually Arab. What's the richest man in the world in Mexico? What was his name? Omar, was it Omar something? Does anybody know? You guys got to get y'all a quiz. Carlos Salim, actually, right? Yeah, he probably does. He probably wants to hide his Arab heritage or something. But so basically, something that maybe some of you know about Lebanese. They're very entrepreneurial, business-minded. They go all over the world. So the first major mosque in the United States was actually founded by Lebanese Syrian immigrants in, of all places, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's called, I think, Mother Mosque. Then the next major wave would be after Kennedy basically made an immigration policy to attract the best and the brightest from all over the world. So you had, especially in the 60s and 70s throughout, a lot of highly educated. This is what makes it a little bit different sometimes from the European experience, because after they were devastated by World War II, they brought in a lot of like labor, basically. Over here, they wanted to bring the mines, and so you had a lot of students come to the United States, settled here, and then, of course, their children. For example, myself, my dad came in the 70s to do his doctorate in engineering. I was born here, my siblings were born here, etc. So this is a large aspect of the community, but also a growing number of people converting to Islam of all types of backgrounds, whether Caucasian, African American, pretty much. I mean, anything you can imagine. We had a brother from Yoruba, of all places. What was it called? Was it called Yoruba? Yeah, some island somewhere that he became Muslim. So, any questions about the Muslims and the diversity of the Muslims? And then after that, we'll open it to any sort of general questions before we conclude. Any questions about Muslims? We can leave it general right now. Yes? Diversity, yes. Is that bringing different beliefs amongst Muslims? Yes. So what we're going to be teaching in this course is going to be what's agreed upon, pretty much, by all Muslims. However, to address your question, going back to the slide where we said, what are the sources? Within, because we see it in the news, right? The Sunni Muslim, Shia Muslim, this type of Muslim, that type of Muslim, right? So within, for example, Sunni Islam, there are 4 major schools of thought, right? The Shia Muslims and the Sunni Muslims, the major area where they are different is, and probably this will come up again later, but I'll just address it off the top. The major reason where they are different, first of all, about 15% of the 1.5 billion are Shia Muslim, 85% are Sunni Muslim. The major difference is Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, he was not only a spiritual guide, teacher, recipient of revelation, teaching it, living it, but he was also the political figurehead of the community. And so the idea is after his death, who has the legitimacy to in essence, rule? Now, we believe as Muslims that there's no more prophets or messengers of God after Prophet Muhammad. But someone still has to lead the community. And so this, what became called Sunni Islam, they said that it should be through consultation, and whoever is the sort of most God-fearing and also politically able to lead, then that person should be the leader. The Shia have something very specific. They say, no, it's the family of Prophet Muhammad that are the rightful heirs to the leadership. So they say, after the Prophet Muhammad's death, it should have been Ali, and then Ali's descendants. And this is what you have like in Iran, certain Gulf countries, Iraq, etc. And then, of course, there's all kinds of other little small groups. But all of them, everything in this course is pretty much, the same for all of them. Once you go deeper, then you will start seeing some of the differences. Yeah. Yes? Okay, the difference between hadith, the question was, what is the difference between hadith and Quran? So Quran is what we believe is the word of God himself, like verbatim. Yeah. And it's faithfully given to the angel Gabriel, faithfully given to Prophet Muhammad, we said it in the question, and then faithfully transmitted through time till today, right? Even objective historians, when they want to know about Prophet Muhammad, their first source, even if they're not Muslim, is the Quran. Because it's a historical, verifiable document. Because it's not like one person taught one person taught one. It's like many to many to many to many until today, right? Like we have in our community people who learn from their teacher, 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 who learn from a companion. Hadith is not the words of Allah. They are the words of Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, which we believe, except in those areas that have to do with certain mundane sort of living type things, like for example, Prophet ﷺ made a statement about farming or agriculture, right? But in most of what he is saying, we believe it is also divinely inspired, but it's just his own teaching. It's like for example, the hadith, we don't recite it the way we just did that. And there's no like rhythm or rhyme in the hadith. Quran, when we get to that part of the course, a part of its argument is its own eloquence and its insurpassability in linguistic beauty, right? So hadith has no such claim, right? But it is the source, not just of the wisdom, but also the source of this, how we derive the specific practices of being a Muslim from the time of Prophet Muhammad until the last day. Good question. Yes, in the back there, sir. Okay. So, question is, why do we have facial hair? We'd be good for that. What's the insurance commercial with the caveman? It's some really funny commercials. We'd be. So remember when we talked about Abraham, peace upon him, he's very central in Islamic thought and also practice. So Abraham, peace upon him, part of his tradition was to grow his beard and to trim his mustache and also to be circumcised, amongst other things. So Muslims, they continue in that tradition of Abraham. Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, frequently would refer to Abraham, peace upon him, as our father Abraham. So it's basically a way to, obviously it's more important to have the inner reality of those closest to God, but we're trying to do both at the same time, trying to manifest an outer and inner connection to the sort of elect of God, who are his prophets and messengers. Yes, so you will see Muslims with all different types of headdress. So you will see men wearing